It was a who's who of college football yesterday in Washington, D.C. at Capitol Hill as Donald Trump and others asked the question, can we save college football? I have the answer for you next here on the College Huddle. 87 independent podcasts from coast to coast. You've landed on the mothership right here on YouTube for The College Huddle. Check out the website, thecollegehuddle.com, to find your next favorite college football podcast. Hit that thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Hype the video if you're watching on your cell phone. And of course, let us know what you think about what we think down in the comments section below. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of strong opinions about this topic, and I expect that some of you are going to agree with me, some are going to disagree with me, and that's okay. It's okay to disagree with somebody. Just be polite about it, right? There's no reason to be a jerk. All right, here's the deal. I don't have a lot of faith in the United States government for a lot of things. I don't. Um, Especially when it comes to athletics. Most people on Capitol Hill have never played an athletic event in their life. The only games they play are the games of politics. And when those type of individuals get involved in things that directly affect us in our lives, it tends to not be good for you and I. As college football fans, as people who long for Saturdays in the fall and what that represents, getting the people who run this thing behind me involved in this sport is a terrible idea, in my opinion. Now, unfortunately, the sport itself has forced itself upon these people because they cannot figure out getting in a room and figuring things out themselves. And so Donald Trump and others um, asked all the dignitaries of college football to come and be a part of a hearing on Capitol Hill in which the questions were basically asked in a nutshell: how can we save college football? It was a who's who yesterday. Of course, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, was there. Former coaches, Nick Saban, Mac Brown, Urban Meyer, were in attendance. The commissioners of the Big Ten, the SEC, the athletic director of Notre Dame, former athletes. Again, when Tiger Woods is there, hello, that gets your attention, right? So many people were there to answer questions about the sport. And let us not forget, it wasn't that long ago that they already tried to do this in some way, shape, or form. Y'all remember the SCORE Act, which aimed to regulate college sports, but let's be honest, hasn't done a doggone thing. That was one of the topics that was addressed yesterday. Nick Saban, Tiger Woods, Urban Meyer, Adam Silver, and Donald Trump, like I said, along with Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, they oversaw this discussion. And remember that was supposed to bring us an NIL to a place where it was going to be more of a level playing field for everybody, the SCORE Act. But it hasn't done a doggone thing because there's no way to enforce it. And that's the problem. Here's the other problem with yesterday. Where was the player representatives? Where was the voice for the current players? It was not in attendance at all yesterday. That's a major problem. And here's why it's a major problem. Because all of this discussion is about taming the environment in which college football has created that the players are taking advantage of. NCAA's inability to get in a room and iron this stuff out with its athletes over the course of 3 decades now has led to where we are at now. And I stand by my point and my argument from the very beginning that the NCAA has washed their hands of all of this and said, "This is what you want. Go for it." It's the wild, wild west. And this is created in the environment in which we have now, where when the NCAA goes to court over just about anything, they lose their shorts. Now, they're winning sometimes when it comes to eligibility, but most things, they have no legal background because they're not technically a legal entity. And that's part of the problem. And the reason why they're not a legal entity is because there's no contract here. There's no binding legal document that the players, that the conference commissioners, that the head coaches, that the athletic directors have to abide by. Nothing is legal. And when the NCAA makes some kind of rule or regulation or mandated, it gets challenged in court. And oftentimes it's been found to be illegal because there's no contract here. Until, and it's sad that we've reached this point, but I think it's true. Until college athletes become employees of the school and there is a legal binding contract between said athlete and school, they're we're just literally trying to roll a boulder uphill that keeps basically rolling back downhill and squashing us underneath of it. And that's where we're at because they're no longer amateurs. The amateurism model is dead in the United States. I forget how many states it is where NIL is now legal for high school athletes. Think about that. NIL is now legal for high school athletes. And we have a system in college football, which is the number 2 sport in the country after the NFL, if you just look at television, revenue, eyeballs, etc., that cannot mandate itself, cannot control itself, cannot govern itself because there's nothing in which to give it the backbone to govern by. And that's the problem. The NCAA was an illegal organization operating illegally under an illegal structure for the better part of 100+ years that fell apart. And now we are dealing with the broken pieces of that broken model that have fallen apart. How do we get from where we're at now to where we need to be? You have to adapt an NFL like model. And the only way to do that is if the players become employees, if you will, so that they are almost unionized in a way, like the players' union in the NFL, so you can have negotiations. Now, those negotiations can happen, I believe, individually between player agent, and a school. But as long as the schools are playing in the conferences are playing by the same rules, until that happens, we will continue to have these issues. And I think that is what it's all boiling down to is you have conferences trying to hold on to power. You have commissioners holding on to power. You have athletic directors trying to hold on to power in a model that's broken. And you're getting players and player agents who are increasing in power, and they're scared over here because as these players and agents get more power, there are some trickle down effects that are starting to hit college athletics that a lot of people don't want to talk about or ignore. And that is the Olympic sports are going to get wasted in all of this. And that's some of the argument that the athletic directors and commissioners are trying to make is, hey, listen, if football is king and we understand that, they have to understand that they support these other models down here underneath them financially. And that's true. But as football continues to garner more of the revenue sharing, the revenue to the players, that revenue that used to support your swimming and diving team, your rowing team, your fencing team, all of these Olympic sports, right? That revenue is going to be taken from them. And it's a catch 22 because we all love college football and we want to see it succeed, but at what expense? And the players don't seem to understand that as well, or don't care, or the agents, right? And these, and sometimes I feel like these commissioners, coaches, athletic directors use these other sports as a crutch, which happened yesterday on Capitol Hill. But at the end of the day, until they come together and there's an agreement made that's a binding contract, we will continue to just spiral chaotically out of control in college football. And there's nothing these people back here can honestly do or say, including Donald Trump, to make that happen. I guess trying to get everybody in the same room is at least trying to move the football forward a little bit, but you didn't invite those players who this is all about, and they didn't have a voice, and their voice is the one that continues winning in the courts judicially. So until that happens, all of this is just one big dog and pony show. Trump can't save college football. The only ones who can save college football are your commissioners and the players. That's it. That's my opinion. What's yours? Let me know in the comments section below. We'll be back with more college football content for you right here on the College Huddle. Take care, everybody, and have a great weekend.